I hope to, or I hate to cut you off, but we do only have the 40 minutes.
Oh, all right. Well, shut up.
So I just started recording, so we just need to start with an opening prayer.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
Our Father in heaven, we're so grateful for this day and so grateful to be able to meet as a group. And we're so grateful for the opportunity that we have to further our education, and grateful for this university that allows us to do so and utilize technology to our advantage. And we're so grateful for the gospel and for all that it provides us. And we ask you to please bless us with the Spirit throughout this meeting and help us to accomplish everything that we have set out to do. And please bless us this semester that we will be able to accomplish our goals. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks. So then next is if anybody wants to share a spiritual thought, they're welcome to, but we don't have to. So, good? Okay. Okay, so the first thing that we're supposed to do is vote on whether or not Madden should go for the Babies R Us opportunity. So who says yes?
I think they should.
Okay, Zach's the only one.
I vote no.
You vote no. I vote no.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what we're doing here. I've got 3 different case studies going on in my head, so
Marshall, what did you say?
Oh, I vote no.
Okay. Well, Zach, if you want to start us off on why you say yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a huge opportunity. Like if you looked at the bottom and the potential sales that they would make with the Toys R Us, just the 24 stores, they'd be making like 6 times the amount of sales. Obviously, the issue with that is being able to keep up with the demand, because if they can't, then they're hosed. But I think getting that funding and then being able to overcome that rather quickly and pay everything back would be, I think it would go well. But I think it's an opportunity that they can't miss, really. Like, I don't know if it'll still be available or if someone else will get in there before they're able to take their product to Babies R Us. So I think that if they leave it now, the chances of them having it later aren't there. And then they're really closing some doors for possible growth down the road. That was my thought on it. But I do recognize the risk in it and understand that maybe it would destroy them and it wouldn't be worth it. I see that as well. I just think that it would be worth it for them.
So I know I was like at the beginning when I had just first read the case study, I was with you, Zach. I was like, yeah, they should definitely take it. It's the best opportunity for them. But then as I started doing that Excel document with all the different numbers and things to consider, it just kept looking like a worse and worse idea to me because of, we learned a lot about like cash flow, and it would take like, if I remember correctly, the way that I did it, that there wasn't a lot of ways to have positive cash flow. And so that's why I mainly said no, was because it was almost every way they would have negative cash flow and they wouldn't really be making profits yet. And so I said no just because I think that they could have more time making their company stable and getting it together before going. But they do run the risk, like you said, Zach, of losing that opportunity. And so it's a very hard decision, I feel like. But ultimately, that's why I went with no.
yeah. I mean, anytime you're doing a startup, your number one hindrance is always going to be money.
Funding.
And she's guessed, that she would need 1.5. They've come up with 1.2, and they technically need about 2.5. And so I agree with Zach in that it's a obviously an awesome opportunity because then you've just got one place to sell to. You don't have to hit up all these smaller places to try to make a buck. But if you blow it out of the gate, you're hosed, and then your products, well, not that you can't fall back and do another smaller thing, but you're going to spend all your monetary capital and all your reputation capital if it goes south. And that's a very, very likely thing to have happen where they're at, because they're still in, were they on 2.0 or something like that? They're barely into this. They know their technology is going to change with the amount of inventory they need to keep on hand to supply 26 stores. And they're speculating that things will go well enough that they'll actually end up in half of the 400 and something stores. So really quickly, they would have to ramp up and have the money to back that up. And I think money is going to be their issue. If I would say yes to it, if they can pull in at least 3 million right now, but if they're only going to get 1.2, I think they're going to get hosed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't like completely set on, go for it. Cause I do realize the risk. And I think obviously a decision like this is going to be talked amongst all of the CEOs, I guess. So that's kind of what we're doing, is just putting ourselves in their spots. So from where I sat saying go for it, I was still in a position where I could be like, someone else could talk me into it and be like, okay, well, let's not risk it. So I get what you guys are saying.
So I said no just for kind of Dave hit on it a little bit. And Zach, you're right. I think it presents a huge opportunity to be the first to market. And that is obviously huge if you can get in and be the first to market and kind of dominate that space in the largest baby retailer in the country, right? But my reasoning was, like Dave said, they're still on their first product, and they were developing their second generation product, and they didn't have the infrastructure in place or the to be able to meet the demand if it came, and that's why they had to raise so much capital. And so I think if they had the supply chain in place and had a better they had were more prepared, I guess, I think it would be less of a risk. But where they're so early, I think it's a huge risk that they run. And I think the slower growth model, just on the Excel spreadsheet, the other reason is their break-even units per month are only 388 on the smaller retailer, and they're 1,518 at Babies R Us. So a huge jump just to break even to go to Babies R Us, where they could grow a little slower and develop their next generation and also their supply chain.
Yeah, that was another thing I considered too, was that they might want to really perfect the product before they take it onto that bigger market. So that's another thing.
Yeah, those break-even numbers hurt.
Yeah.
Marshall, did you have anything else to add?
Well, I was just going to say, based on the two graphs they showed, if they went with Babies R Us, I believe correctly, it showed that sooner or later they had a negative cash flow, if I remember correctly, after a couple of years. And so my fear with that is, if we reduce the inventory on the Excel sheet to 1 and 2 months, you get the positive cash flow, but then you're back to not having, well, in the case study, she said she wanted three months worth of inventory just to be able to keep up with demand. And so the only way they could keep money with Babies R Us is if they held 1 month of supply. And so I don't think they would be able to supply the 24, 26 stores, let alone by the end of the year wanting to go to 400 and something stores that they were hoping for. But they did give the option of waiting 9 months to see where things were at, and then hopefully picking up the deal with Babies R Us. So if anything, I would say wait the 9 months.
Yep.
And so we're ready.
Marshall actually brings up a good point there, because the inventory plays a huge role in, especially with their new product. If they've got a lot of inventory of what ends up being old product, then they've just lost a bunch of money in their 2.0, assuming that because they make it sound like they're going to 3.0 pretty soon. And so, yeah, if you're having to carry that much inventory, it's hurting you as well. And that's based on a complete assumption, because there was no way for them to model anything after something that Babies R Us had done before, so that they could kind of gauge how much inventory they would need. This was a total guess. So that's another thing that goes in the hurt column.
Okay. So with that, we are now supposed to use the Excel model to answer the following question individually and then compare answers as a group. So first is, if we increase the EBIAT divided by the sales and hold everything else equal, time to pay back will do what? So does everyone have their Excel file available?
Opening it.
Perfect.
Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have the wrong one up? Shoot.
Which
Which one is it? TEM?
Yeah,
Okay. Hold on.
which tab is that on?
that's what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah, I'm not seeing.
Isn't it the second one?
Is
What's
it
that?
this?
Side by
So
side?
on the
It's
3,
on the first one, the FCF definition.
Oh, yep, there it is.
oh, perfect. So
So if we
all it
increase
says
that,
is increase. So it doesn't say by any amount. So
Okay, wait. Where? Let's see.
cash flow.
Oh, okay. Here we are. Number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'd already filled this out. I must have the wrong one. Hold on. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. So what were you saying? Or just you were answering number 1?
yeah, so there's a question in the group discussion instructions, and it says answer individually and then compare answers as a group. And the question is, if we increase the EBIAT over sales and hold everything else equal, time to pay back will what? And then it gives 3 choices of increase, decrease, or remain the same.
Oh, I'm on the wrong tab. Yeah, I thought you said we're on the FCS definition.
Yeah.
Why am I not seeing that? Mine. Okay, so I'm looking at one that says, what happens if you accelerate growth at 20% or 30%? Is that not the same one that you're on?
Let's see. So
That's what mine is.
on the FCF definition, like it's got a graph, and then it's the free cash flow definition. I know I've seen what you're talking about.
So I just tried sharing my screen. I don't know if it actually worked or not.
Yeah, it did.
But this is where we're supposed to be at, and we're changing this right here.
Increasing that.
On the TEM exercise, right?
Yeah. The TM exercise operational cash flows for the rest devices.
Dadgummit, why is that?
So the question is,
Crap, I can't find it. I think I'm on the right sheet because I have the Babies R Us tabs at the bottom.
So,
I don't understand why I'm
oh,
not.
yeah. So you're on question number 1 because it asks, accelerated growth at 20% or 30%. If you scroll up, you'll see like a graph right there, and keep scrolling up, and then you can enter that general example. You can enter and adjust those numbers on that EBAIT or IAAT.
Oh, yeah. And the yellow margins there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Okay. So, okay, I apologize. So
no, you're fine.
now I was there, I just wasn't looking there. I was down at the number 1.
No biggie.
Okay, so what was your question then again? Sorry, I'm wasting time.
If we increase EBIAT over sales and hold everything else equal, time to payback will what? Increase, decrease, or remain the same?
Increase, isn't it?
The time to pay back decreases.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
cash.
Because you're gonna have more.
Yeah, because your cash increases.
Oh, yeah, decreases.
Then it'll take less time to pay it back.
Yeah, the time. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to have a higher
I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at sales growth.
net margin. So,
Okay. Is everyone good on that one? Understanding it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering where you're reading that question.
So it is on the group
discussion
instructions.
Oh, that's what's killing me. I'm looking for this. Okay, off we go. Sorry.
Okay. And then the next one is if NOA over sales increases, cash flow what?
Decreases.
Yeah, that's what I got too. And then it just says how does each driver affect the free cash flow? So we already talked about 2 of them. So the NOA over sales will decrease the cash flow if it increases. The EBIAT over sales will increase the cash flow if it increases. And then sales growth.
Sales growth will kill the cash flow as well if the other 2 aren't touched.
Yep.
Correct. And
okay.
That's because of the inventory they have to keep up with, I'm assuming?
Yeah, if you're growing quicker than yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if everyone's good on those, then we are supposed to compare our prep worksheet tab and teach each other how you approach the question in the model, and then what question do you still have about the model.
Okay, prep worksheet.
I don't know what model they're talking about.
I think they're talking about the 4B, the decisions thing.
yeah, we kind of discussed it when we answered the first question. Because we referenced the things we did to get ourselves above the negative cash flow. But
Oh, yeah. Okay. So are we talking about number 1 then on the class prep worksheet?
So yeah, it just said to kind of discuss.
Are we supposed to share our prep worksheet with everybody, screen share it?
We can, yeah. It doesn't really tell us how to do it. It just says to discuss it and compare it.
I'll have to discuss it because I don't know how to screen share.
Yeah, that's fine. So in mine, we already discussed the growth strategy, but in the analyzing the BRU opportunity, for question number 2, I did 2.5 months of target inventory levels just because they're going to have inventory on hand in case they sell out.
Mm-hmm.
times sold accounts receivable. So I sold accounts receivable 7 times, and then I deferred supplier payments 5 times because you could only do it, every other month. And then I still kept the founder salaries paid at 100% and was able to get the cash flows to work out.
So was our goal to just get them at December to be positive, or was it to have the best cash flow possible? Because I did it according to just getting them positive.
Yeah, me too. I'm assuming I'm assuming you'd want it the best case possible, but I just kind of messed with it until I got them positive. So
because I also did the 2.5 months, which I probably would have preferred to do 2, but I did 2.5. But I sold the accounts receivable once, and that was in November. Hold on. Yeah, once in November, and then I deferred to pay the suppliers once in December, but cut everybody's salary 10%. Under the auspice of when you're doing a startup and you're the founder, you got to run lean. And I didn't think 10% was too much of a salary hit on them. So by the 2.5 and the single sell and the single deferment, got them positive by the end of the year.
Yeah, I kind of did something similar to you. I went with 2 months instead of 3 months of inventory, but then I sold the accounts receivable because I was thinking if I deferred the payment to my supplier, they might have a problem with that in the future, So I wouldn't want to ruin the trust built with the supplier at all.
Well, that's why I only deferred in December. It was the last month we needed it to be deferred to to make us positive.
Well, I did it 5 times. So what does that tell you about me?
I didn't really cut the salaries of the CEOs just because, it didn't put that much of an impact on the business like everything else did. So it doesn't fully matter all that much. If the business does go under, they're going to want money anyway. So.
Okay, so you never deferred a payment then?
Yeah, I just sold the accounts receivable.
How consistently did you do that?
I did it the last 4 months.
Okay, and then did 2 months on your inventory?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just looked at that too. If you even at 2.5 or 3 months, you still stay positive. If you just sell the last 4 months of accounts receivable. So to understand that, if a company owes you $100,000 and you sell your accounts receivable, you just get $90,000, and then they're going to collect the payment of $100,000. It's basically just an advance on it.
Yeah, so it's like you see those commercials on TV, of get your structured settlement payment now. They know you're going to get paid for something.
Yeah.
You're cash strapped, so you may not get your full 100, you'll get your 90, but they're going to collect that 10 just because they can wait now 90 days to receive the payment. And you can't.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
It's a sweet little business if you got capital. Make money off other people's money. You don't really have to do a whole lot. And all the contracts are guaranteed. You don't pay them unless they have a guaranteed contract. So anyway.
Cool.
Catherine's quiet.
Oh, sorry, no. I just had realized that I was muted that entire time that I was trying to talk to you. And I was like, you're not listening to me.
These guys are rude.
No, so I kind of did like Marshall did. I cut my inventory pretty low. I actually just did 1.5 months, which I know is like kind of cutting it close. But with doing that, I was able to just do selling my accounts receivable on October and December, and then end in the positive. And so that's how I did it. Because I figured like you can't be too picky with wanting more inventory.
Mm-hmm. There's probably 3 or 4 different strategies that would work. There's a lot of the things that you guys said make sense too.
Yeah, there were a few other things I looked at. I agreed with Dave though, and I actually cut their salaries 30% just because.
Whoa!
Yeah,
It went big.
I just figured they got to sacrifice for a short time, and go for it. But
Yeah, go big or go home.
yeah, the early years of a company can be easy.
All right. Well, number three. Do we want to even go through that? I mean, that's kind of obvious, right?
Which
Or do
one?
we need to?
Sorry. Number 3 being what?
You fill in the green things with the percentage of equity.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, I got it. I don't really think so.
Well, what did you decide if somebody offered you 12 million at the end of December? Would you take it, or would you?
I
or
said
would you
no.
still-
I said to continue with my own strategy. I also didn't think that the Babies R Us opportunity was ready quite yet. So kind of like I said in the beginning, I think it would be better to just keep on growing a little bit and then revisit the big opportunities after we have better financial records.
She wasn't tempted by the 12 million.
I said yes, sell it.
Yeah.
Because if someone's going to buy it for 12 million, they could probably come up with more cash too to go forward with the Babies R Us, so the company could grow and they could maybe do that a little bit easier than we could. And also, yeah, you wouldn't have to deal with it, and you're happy selling it for that much. So that's what I was.
Cashing out, Zach.
Yeah. Either go all in or get out. Yeah.
I said no just because it said in the case study that a lot of the similar companies were valued at 3 times revenues. And so, and if they thought that they could achieve the growth that they could in like 5 years time, say they were pulling in 40 million in revenue, the company's worth 120 million at that point. And so, granted, they're going to have their equity going to be, because they're bringing on investors and doing different series rounds of funding, but, they're still going to be healthy. So that's what I said.
Yeah, there's an argument for both. You could take the 12 million and move on to something else.
That's what I thought too.
Just in case you fail.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just take the 12 million and just retire, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, 20 years ago you could. Okay. Was there?
Okay, so we do have a group assignment that we have to do, and he said this one can just be between 1,000 and 1,500 words instead of 50,000. But we also can't really split it up. So I think the best way to do this one is a Google Docs and everyone put their thoughts on there, and then we kind of try to like put it together like that. Because for this paper, we have to, as a group, decide what we would do if given the opportunity to invest in one of the 2 strategies. So this said 3, but it was confusing, the 2 cases. So pretty much we just decide which opportunity we're going to go with. If we're going to go ahead and go with Babies R Us, or if we're going to go ahead and go with slow growth right now. And so in that way, we can't really split it up. We can split up in the way that we talk about pros and cons for each of the 2 opinions, and then like one person writes which one we went with. So like if 2 of us wrote the pros and cons for the Babies R Us and 2 wrote pros and cons for growing slow, and then the one person, after we decide yes or no for whichever one, they write which one we pick and the like deciding factors on it. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah, because we obviously don't want to just each write our own ideas because we'll probably end up repeating ourselves. So,
And so, I mean, and if anyone has a different idea that you think can work better, that's totally great too. I just think this one's hard because it is kind of just a one question paper.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually.
2 pros, 2 cons, and then a decision per. Yeah, because that's only like 200 words a person. So, but I think that's fine. Okay, we just have to decide what we're deciding, right?
Yeah, which
Yeah,
I mean, 4 of us did say no to the Babies R Us.
Yeah. And so I'll write the pros for yes to Babies R Us.
Okay.
Since that's what I thought. But I mean, I could do any of them because I understand the rest of it too.
Well, no, I think that's good because you did have the positive view on Babies R Us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and pick one pro. Don't do so that 2 people pick one pro and why that one pro. So if your reason was, once in a lifetime opportunity, then there's your pro, and then the other pro can be, possible, future revenue or so. I don't know, whatever. So, but
Okay, so I'm doing all of the pros though.
Well,
so
no.
you do all of the pros for Babies R Us.
Yeah, and then someone does all of the cons for Babies R Us. Someone does all of the pros for not, and someone.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah, so that way it's split into 5 different sections that we each can pretty much write on our own.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll do cons on Babies R Us.
Okay.
I'll do pros on slow growth.
Okay. Marshall, do you have a preference? So either cons on slow growth or the decision and the main factors of why we chose our decision.
I can choose do the main factors.
So the decision,
Yeah.
the final decision one. Okay, and then I will do cons of slow growth. That's right? That was the only thing left?
Yep.
Okay, and then does everyone have, I know David does, or Dave, does everyone else have Gmail? I think we kind of went over this already. Yeah. Okay. I may need y'all to send that to me again in the text message so I can start the new Google Docs for this week. I may already have it. Kenny, I don't have yours.
Okay. I'll text it to you right now.
And then I can get that started, and then we just have to have that turned in tomorrow night. And so, Marshall, if you want to do you want to turn that in for us since you'll kind of be like wrapping it up?
Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Then I think we're good. So pretty much we decided that overall it's kind of better to go with slow growth right now, even though the Babies R Us does have really good opportunities, and then to revisit it in like 9 months. Is that kind of what we had decided?
Yep.
Sorry, I missed all that. My computer died.
Oh, that's okay. We just pretty much just went back over who was doing what. I'm going to start a Google Docs again for everybody. If I can't find your email, I'll text and ask for it again.
I'm putting it in right now.
Okay,
in
perfect.
that text.
And then in the summary, we just pretty much decided that it was best to just go ahead and wait another 9 months with the slow growth and then revisit possible big opportunities to grow.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Well, if everyone is good with that, then we are good to go, and we are done with this week's meeting.
Wait, real quick. You said somebody's putting up a Google Doc?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Good
Awesome.
job.
Okay, see ya.
See ya.
Good luck.